Oh, good. I can hear you loud and clear. Hello. Hi, Dan. This is Dan Dutton, and we're speaking to him from Ohio. Where exactly in Ohio are you, Dan?
I'm right in the northwest tip, like right where Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio all meet.
Wow, I didn't realize they all met. Isn't that nice?
three hours from Chicago.
Okay. It's a little hike. So Dan Denton is a former union auto worker and chief steward that worked in the assembly department that builds the world-famous Jeep Wrangler. He also was fortunate to serve as the constitutional delegate to multiple UAW conventions and was part of the progressive movement that fought against union corruption and passed a one-member, one-vote Democratic initiative. Dan, who has always dreamed of growing up to be a writer, began writing daily in his first few days of sobriety 20 years ago. Since then, his writing, influenced by his story of mental health struggles, homelessness, poverty, addiction, and lifetime factory work, has been published internationally. He is the author of 3 novels, a novella poetry hybrid book, and most recently, his first collection of poetry, Fight Songs for the Underdogs. In 2024, he was voted the best writer in his city, Toledo, Ohio. Oh, yeah. We're talking to Dan right now. So, Dan, who were the writers? First of all, welcome. Welcome to WZRD. Welcome. Yeah. And so who has influenced your work? What writers, what poets? Did you have a mentor? Who's influenced your work?
I do have a couple of mentors, and one of my earliest ones is Bob Phillips, who is widely regarded as the best poet in Toledo.
Oh.
But he hasn't been published in 40 years.
Wow.
50 years. Yeah. We're trying to change that now, but he's largely unknown except for in Toledo where he's a legend. So Bob Phillips for sure. So, and lately my writing has been compared to Hemingway.
Ooh.
In the fact that, like Capture in America, I guess, my short sentences in plain language, I guess. And, that's an honor, but he's sort of an influence, I suppose. So
you're keeping it focused.
Yeah, I try to.
That's good.
But, I'd like to also highlight one of my biggest influences is James Baldwin.
Oh, I love James Baldwin. Yes.
Nobody took America to task quite like James Baldwin did, I think, as a writer. He's a huge influence also.
Right. I could see that. Yeah, what a powerhouse of a writer. So what first drew you to writing, even while working in an auto factory?
When I was a kid, I grew up in an evangelical religion that was very conservative, and my parents didn't have a television.
Wow.
So I fell in love with reading, and I went to the library all the time. And somewhere along the way, I loved books and reading. As a kid, I decided I wanted to be a writer. It just took me a long, very detoured route to get there,
Mm-hmm. So, where do you find inspiration today?
Lots of places that people wouldn't think, maybe. Just recently, you mentioned in my bio about, a lot of my work draws from my history of homelessness and poverty and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And right now in Binghamton, New York, there is a homeless encampment and protest. They had a Night's Inn that was like a shelter house for homeless, and it burned down and killed 6 people.
What?
Yeah, this is 3 weeks ago.
Oh, no!
You don't hear these things, but these people have been living in a homeless encampment in front of the police station for like 3 weeks.
Whoa!
Those people give me hope that somebody somewhere is saying, hey, enough is enough, and they're advocating for people that can't advocate for themselves.
Oh, that's important. So important, yeah. People are people, no matter how poor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it.
I see people that do that, and I think, man, they are so tough and radical. I don't know that I could be that quote-unquote radical, also I'm disabled and middle-aged, but when I see that inspires me to write better or to use my voice, to help others,
Mm-hmm.
So those things inspire me.
Sure. Me too. Just hearing about it. So when did you realize that your writing had become more than a hobby?
Well, it took me until my first chapbook was published in 2018. So I had been writing for several years, 8 years,
Wow.
before I could call myself a poet.
Mm-hmm.
I had things published here and there, but I was a factory worker, and I thought of myself more as a factory worker, a blue collar guy, than I thought of myself as a writer until maybe the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
So, but it definitely. I realized maybe in my second or third year in sobriety that this daily habit of trying to write was like a lifesaver for me.
Yes, I can see that.
That's when I realized this wasn't just a hobby. And at that point, I had never been published. I had hardly shipped anybody my work, and it didn't matter, because this was life-saving,
Yes.
So,
Yes, absolutely. So why was it important for you to tell stories about mental health, addiction, homelessness, and poverty?
We hear stories about that all the time. We see it on the news. Other people write stories about it. But how many of those stories are written by people that were homeless?
Right.
That used to be drug addicts, that lived, in poverty. And I feel, one thing, I don't have survivor's guilt, but I know dozens of friends that have died of overdoses over the years,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I escaped by some miraculous way. And I feel a little bit obligated to tell the stories of the ones nobody will know.
Mm.
So I feel that a little bit. And also, I've written a lot about factories too. I want people to be able to understand that life. And one of the things I'm proudest of is that factory workers I've worked with tell me, Dan, you nailed exactly what it's like to work in a factory. But I have other friends in recovery. They say, Dan, you nailed exactly what it's like to try addiction. And that, to me, is more cred than any critic could give me,
Yes, coming from people who are suffering from, who are involved in that same thing. So, how did writing become part of your recovery process?
So I'd always wanted to be a writer since I was a kid. And, I dropped out of community college, and I was already an alcoholic by the time I was 18, and by the time I was 20, I was homeless off and on. And when I got sober at 27 years old, I had a sponsor. And my sponsor said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I don't know. I've always wanted to be a writer. This is something somebody asked me at 27, right?
Right.
And I said, I always wanted to be a writer. He said, good, don't do that. I said, how? And he said, if you want to bad enough, you'll figure it out. That's what he told me.
Right.
And I know this sounds so illogical. Being a homeless, like I was living in a halfway house when he told me this, with 37 other junkie men, And I started writing every day in a notebook, like I was really serious about wanting to be a writer someday. You know what I mean? And that's how that became I don't know, that was the thing that saved me from wanting to think, hey, I got to write. Hey, I got to, And from my very earliest months of recovery, that became, and I laugh about that now, that, after having my sixth book is coming out this November. And I think, how crazy is it that he said, if you want to do it bad enough, you'll figure it out. And I did. I wrote for years, I think I wrote 8 years before I had my first poem published.
Wow.
But I tried to write almost every day,
That makes a difference. Yes, that consistency and that discipline. I could see why people would compare you to Hemingway, because he also was a very disciplined writer.
Yeah. And when you say discipline, I have ADHD, so it's never It's never
like you have to do like 500 words a day or something. You just
no, it's not that.
yeah.
Like sometimes as a writer, you know this, editing is a big part of writing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
Some days I only get to edit stuff and I don't have to put words down, but that's just never right. Part of writing. So
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So, how has sobriety changed your creative life over the last 20 years?
oh man, you know, I think that there's this myth in like young males that want to be a writer that you have to get alcoholic, that you have to do drugs, and you got to kind of live this gonzo life that Hunter Thompson lived, or Charles Bukowski lived, or even Hemingway. You know, he drank to great excess. And you know, when I got sober, it wasn't like it was life or death. You know, I was homeless. I had already like OD'd twice. You know, I'd been in rehabs before, and like it wasn't an option. The state of Ohio told me I either quit drinking or I could never see my kids again.
Oh my God! Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so I quit drinking. But it's funny because after I quit drinking, I had a freedom. I wasn't like trying to get drugs all day. You know, I wasn't like worried about how I was going to come up with $6 for a six-pack. You know, and having those hours of freedom, not chasing those drugs and alcohol, were the time I felt was right. You know.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of helped a lot. So
sure, seeing your children. I didn't realize you had twins.
Yeah, my twins actually they turned 22 on Monday.
Oh, happy birthday! Yeah. That's wonderful.
They were 2 when I quit drinking.
Oh wow.
I have the honor of my children never knowing me as an alcoholic or drug addict.
Oh,
you know,
that's a blessing.
Stories, but they never had to see it, you know.
I understand. So they've never known you as an alcoholic or a drug addict. That says so much about your relationship with them. So how are they doing? Are they in college or?
So my son actually went 2 years at Illinois Tech in South Chicago.
Oh, nice.
And now he is going to a local community college to get his CAD certificate.
Oh, nice. Good.
He wants to continue his architecture studies after that.
Sure.
And his twin sister is, let me rephrase, his twin Bather. My other twin goes by they, them. And Iris is a Paul Mitchell Salon graduate and is working on getting their cosmetology license.
Oh, wow. Paul Mitchell is top drawer. They're just an amazing school, I understand.
Yeah, but I'm really happy that they're both starting life as young adults way millions of miles ahead than I was. You know? That's what I'm very proud of. And, you know, I probably mentioned this. I don't know if I did my bio on mental health at least, but I've been in therapy almost for all 20 years. I've been sober. You know, I'm like, I have these other mental health issues. I go to therapy every 2 weeks. And one of the things that my therapist always points out when I'm having a bad day is how many toxic cycles got broken between me and my children. What a gift, though.
Yeah, that is a gift. Yeah. That's so important. I'm really impressed. So who do you imagine is reading your work when you sit down to write? Who's your audience?
It's hilarious. I was just a friend of mine, a poet, J.I.B. in Portsmouth, Ohio, has told me recently again that I write poetry for people that don't read poetry. Which kind of cracks me up, and I understand what he means. You know, I write a lot of factory poetry. And factory workers don't tend to read poetry, right?
Right.
I write a lot of poetry about homelessness and these things, and homeless people don't traditionally read poetry. But I do that, like, you know, anybody, I think, and that's something I'm proud of. I think anybody with a 6th or 8th grade reading level can understand my work. And that's important to me because I have spent so many years working in factories with people that read at like an 8th grade level. Not that they weren't anywhere near illiterate, and they weren't not intelligent. They just didn't read much. Right. And I want my work to be accessible to those people. You know?
Yes.
So, by the way, if you know a blue-collar person in your life that doesn't read, but they love fishing, Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea is a great gateway book because it's short, and everybody I've recommended it to that loves fishing has loved that book. So there you go. Yeah, other people in your life that fish but don't read.
Fish but don't read. That's good. So, who are the underdogs that you've had in mind when you're writing like fight songs for the underdogs?
I consider myself an underdog, of course. I mean, I am, it's very unlikely that I'm living the life I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's for the underdogs, so, the factory workers. How many people working in a factory have a dream to do something besides the factory? And will they ever achieve that? Most likely not. It's also for the people that are growing up in like toxic families like I was. Growing up in poverty and abuse. It's for all of those people that aren't expected to achieve anything, but they're still getting up every single day and living life anyway.
Right. Pushing through.
Well, that takes a great endurance, So I try to, fight songs for the underdogs. That poem, actually, the book with my first poetry collection is named after. It's a song. It's a quote-unquote anthem for the people that are left behind,
Yeah, it's a powerful piece. I just played it before you came on the air. Really, really powerful piece. So, what role did your years building the Jeep Wrangler play in shaping your voice as a writer?
Well, first of all, when I got my UAW job, I didn't have to work 3 jobs. And that gave me more time to write.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge thing. There's something about, and I hate to say this, there's something about working in a factory, especially on the assembly line, where on a job that only takes maybe 10% of your brain power.
Mm-hmm.
That is like driving on a long road trip on cruise control. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the best time to let my mind free range. And so there was something about the monotony of the assembly line that let me daydream. And I would think about lines to write on. Matter of fact, I would have index cards in my pocket. And I still do this. I carry index cards in a pen. And if I had a thought in between cards, I would try to jot it down real quick on an index card so I wouldn't forget it. Or maybe I thought of a line of a poem or something. But that job and the monotony and the, even though I didn't hate it, I appreciated the job, but it definitely wasn't a job anyone really dreams of doing,
Yeah, but what do you think? What do you think about AI infiltrating our factories?
So one of the things that the UAW and other unions have been fighting is robotics for years. This is a battle that auto workers have been right now. You think about this in the 1930s when there was a Ford plant in River Rouge, Michigan, that employed 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. It took 100,000 people in a giant building to build Model T cars, or build Ford cars, right? So today, they build Jeep Wranglers with 3,000 people, 6,000 people total. And that's because the body shop is 80% robots now.
Whoa!
They have. And this is just before I left 2 years ago. They had automatic carts that follow the tape line on the floor like robots. And so every time they do something like that, those are jobs lost.
Right.
Which, by the way, I don't want to be too preachy, but when they have those self-checkout items that are groceries, I've worked very closely a lot with the AFSCME, AFSCME, the Grocery Workers Union. Mm-hmm. And, every one of those machines takes 4 cashiers' jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's something we're going to have to reckon with someday as a nation. We're going to lose so many jobs, I think, that's going to be something that's going to cause a tipping point, somewhere in our working class, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely been in factories for a long time, and it's something that the UAW is working on, getting into their contracts, how much it can be used and how much it can't, and we'll see how it plays out, but it's And it's something that's changing the world day by day, it seems like right now.
Yes, I'm really concerned too, especially right now with the current administration, that there's a real push against unions in general.
Yeah. Well, and there's a reason for that. This administration is funded by really rich people, and really rich people hate unions.
Sure.
Because, and that's the one thing. If you look back at U.S. labor history, which, by the way, United States labor history is the bloodiest labor history of any industrialized nation in the world. And this is a true story. And people don't realize that. We don't talk about it enough. Like, even like Chicago is a huge union city. The Haymarket Affair, and stuff like that. But when we stand together as a people, as a working class, like in our unions, we win even if we lose. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I certainly do.
Even after the Haymarket Affair happened in Chicago, and that lit a fire around the world that created, Mayday, International World Worker Day.
Yes.
Which eventually led to a Labor Day in America because they didn't want to follow everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
But that changed the world. That one thing, even that was a huge loss to unions, So even when we stand together, that's a lesson I want people to understand. If we stand together, we win even if we lose, So.
Yes. Oh, that's a good way to phrase it. So what exactly does that mean? When we stand together, we win even when we lose, or if we lose?
Yeah. We win even when we lose. So this is kind of like something I picked up in my years of being involved in labor and activism and stuff. And what I mean by that is, so let's take Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
How much did Black Lives Matter really change the world? Like, there is still just as much racism. There's still, there's still all of these things are happening that are consistent people of color. But so I would say maybe that Black Lives Matter hasn't necessarily, quote, won yet, right? But what they have done is bring worldwide awareness to the cause. And they have heightened that awareness. So they're winning. Like, they're achieving things even though they haven't quite, quote, unquote, won. So when unions have went on strike, they haven't always won those strikes. But if you look back through history, there's almost always a raise after those strikes. So it's a win even though they lost,
Oh,
yeah. It's like every battle you gain ground, even if you lose.
Okay, I get it. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like you're moving forward, but it's a little bit more slowly than you'd like.
That's how we accomplish things in America. Mm-hmm. Look at women's suffrage.
Yes. Oh, man.
It's all right. Mm-hmm. You win some, you lose some, and finally they gain the right to vote. Look at, the civil rights. In the 60s, civil rights was a 150-year-long project, But yes, you don't win. A lot of times, even when you stand together, you don't win overnight. It takes patience. It takes, a lot of solidarity. But we can't accomplish great things even when we don't win.
I like that. That's really important. Thank you.
It gives you times like this, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. So what book, you said you had a book coming out in November. What book is it? Where can we find it?
It's called The 7 Stages of Middle Class Life, an American Fable. And it comes out in November from Roadside Press.
Ooh, that's a very prestigious press. Yeah. 7 stages. The 7 stages of
Middle Class Life.
Middle Class Life.
An American Fable.
And then it's like a colon in there? And like that's the byline, An American Fable?
Yeah. An American Fable, yep.
Okay, got it. And it's by Dan, Denton. And it's being published by Roadside Press, huh?
And it will be, available every bookseller on the internet will have it.
Sure.
And it will be, localized. Sometimes I can get my books into like some indie bookstores here and there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a novel, but so I've written, like, my last novel was The Dead in the Desperate, and it was about, quote unquote idle fiction, they call it, based on like my last years of addiction. And it was The Dead in the Desperate. You can imagine the content of the book, right?
Yes.
So And it took a lot of therapy. That's delving into parts of my life that weren't good parts.
Right.
And after that, I had, with the weight of the world right now, there was something really strong inside me that wanted to write a happy book for once.
Okay.
Because we just kind of need something that's just, like dragging people through like your history of addiction right now. But, they don't need that right now.
Right.
So I wrote, people have been shocked that I wrote this book and it's completely different than anything I've written. And it's experimental. It takes the life of a factory worker, and it takes him to the same scenes at 7 different points of his life. And it goes through the 7 stages of what I call a middle class life. And American life isn't always happy.
Right. Of course not. No one's life is.
One of the 7 stages, of course, is marriage.
Mm.
And I was debating. I thought, well, we got to make it at least honest and have some kind of negative something. So it was either divorce or cancer. I thought were the 2 most negative American things. Like everybody knows somebody divorced and somebody that's had cancer. So my character got divorced because I figured that was less sad than the cancer. See, I tried to make it. That's true to stay honest,
Okay, that's good. So you're no longer married, I take it?
I am. I've divorced actually 3 times.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, my first 2 marriages were in my young 20s before I got sober. Not that those were excusable. Actually being married after I was in recovery for a while now, it taught me that I do best when I live alone. I don't try. I'm bipolar. I have ADHD, and I'm just not the same person in the morning I am in the afternoon all the time. And even my kids have learned that, they come and stay with me on weekends or, during the week sometimes or go on vacation together. But even they don't want to live with me full time, I'm actually polyamorous. Not that everybody needs to know all that. And I actually have 2 partners, and I don't think I'll ever get married again.
Okay. I got that. Yeah. That's real.
It would have to be something like Frida and Diego had, where they had like separate living quarters.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that,
Gotcha. Frida and Diego. My goodness, what a story there. Woo!
Yeah. Not a revolutionary artist.
Right? That's so true. Absolutely. Yes. Really. And inspiring and still inspiring people today.
Yeah.
So to aspire towards that level of success is a beautiful thing. So how has success as an author changed or not changed your life?
Well, I'm still not wealthy.
Yeah.
I still don't make a lot of money, right? I make some. But it's not enough to even pay taxes yet if you do all the deductions.
Mm-hmm.
I travel a lot. Every time you travel, and the hotel rooms, for book tours, all of those things, every mile of gas, they're all deductible. So I don't make more money than that yet.
Right.
But one of the wildest things in the world is every now and again I get a message, like an email or a note on social media from somebody I don't know. For example, my novel, The Dead and the Desperate, was translated into Albanian.
Ooh.
And published there in Albania. And a month ago, I got a note on Facebook from an Albanian blue-collar worker that said, hey, this book was really sad, but amazing. And it's true, but knowing that somebody read my book and was touched by it in Albania is wild to me.
Yes. Yes.
How cool is that, that's how it's changed my life. Is I guess it hasn't really changed my life, but it's people, I guess my name is in places that I never imagined it would be.
Yes.
My name is on books. I never imagined that would happen.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time that, when I first got sober, my only dream was to get one book published so that I could prove I was a writer. And now, my 6th book is coming out, and it's I truly live beyond my wildest dreams already,
Right.
I never in my wildest dreams thought I would make it this far.
Wow.
That inspired me to keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Never once made me feel button up,
Mm-hmm. So how would you encourage someone who thinks their own life story isn't worth writing?
Oh, first of all, everybody has a story. Everybody. That's one of my favorite things. Especially like, when I have worked with homeless people, there's kind of a street lane people understand, like, it's kind of like being an alcoholic and a drug addict, and maybe if you get sober, you can help other alcoholics like normal people couldn't.
Right.
Because you understand their story. Homeless people are the same. So because of my homeless experience, one of my favorite things to do is like sit down and like meet them at their level and get them talking about their story. And like even every homeless person on the street has a story. Every student in college has a story, every teacher, every factory worker, and that's, I think people think that they have boring lives. And maybe to some people their lives are boring. They go to work 10 hours a day in a factory, they eat at McDonald's, they go home and watch TV, and go to bed. But there is some kind of beauty in that story.
Yes.
And that's the thing I think people, I think that poetry especially is like something that everybody should try in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should do. It's like coloring pages in a coloring book. Everybody should sit down and try to write poetry. At least once,
Yeah.
And that's the thing I always tell people too. Anybody can be a poet. And I'm not saying anybody can be a great poet or a good poet, but anybody can be a poet. Anybody can be a writer,
Yes.
So if that's what you want to do, try it.
Okay, let's go. All right. Well, we're talking to Dan Denton out of Toledo, Ohio. And Dan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today at WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And I really look forward to reading your next book. I did read the one we've been talking about, The Dead and the Desperate. Wow. It was a really heavy hitting book. You're right. And I love the idea of writing something lighter. So I'm looking forward to seeing your next book, which is coming out, you said, in November?
In November, yes.
In November, that's correct. Okay. So we'll have to keep in touch and let me know when it comes out. And yeah, I really appreciate your time today here at WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. It is so nice to have an opportunity to speak with you some more, find out more about your life and your process. And it's so inspiring. I mean, everybody has a story. So get out there and write. Come on, let's go. I think of Shel Silverstein. His poetry was so simple. I mean, he wrote for children, but hilarious too. Like he wrote, "Cockroach sandwich in my lunch. Hate the taste, but love the crunch." So it's not necessarily something you would do in the real, but you just got to have a good imagination. So I really.
By the way, Shel's a Chicago guy, and he's a huge hero of mine.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah,
That's the reason why I first started writing poetry in third grade.
Wow, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, good. Yeah, he attended Roosevelt High School here in Chicago, and they have the library there named for him, which is so cool. Him and Nelson Algren, they both went to the same high school. How ironic is that? So,
powerhouses, yeah.
Right? Like, what? So anyway, so nice talking to you today. I know our listeners are going to be inspired by you. Is there a song, something that we could sign off with that would be appropriate?
I think so.
Do you have?
I've got a couple quick radio-friendly ones.
Okay.
I'm going to, actually, I want to read, let me read the one that I was honored to read on PBS in Toledo.
Ooh, yeah, let's do that. Okay.
It was, being a community college dropout in a factory worker, getting to work and to read a poem on a local PBS radio channel in Toledo, man, that was amazing.
Yes.
Look, here I am on Chicago radio.
Yes.
Never would have dreamed that. Okay. Let me find my poem now. Quit talking.
So we're coming up on 1:00. It's 12:48 right now, just so my listeners know. And I have a little godson who's just turned 2. His name is Nasir. So happy birthday, Nasir. We're going to be coming down for his birthday party in a little minute. He is in Hyde Park, so it's a little further south than where I am currently at Northeastern University, which is where WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM is located. We are a community-based radio station. It's all run by volunteers. We only do public service announcements, and I've heard it said that our radio station, and I believe this, is the best radio station in the world. People tune in to us. I've had calls from all over the world. So, there you have it. You never know who may be listening.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, I found one.
All right, let's go.
It's called Early Saturday Evening at Ideal Hot Dog in Toledo. This is where the unmarried and unattached men eat their dinner on Saturday evenings, when the sun burns with clarity, where the menu still holds value despite a barrage of inflation, breakfast all day for less than $10, and the most expensive luxury meal less than a blue-collar hour's wage. Truck drivers home for the weekends in lonely apartments, retired factory men that lost or never found wives, sit with forearms big with the memory of rough work and wonder where it went wrong. There isn't a college degree in sight, nor any foreign cars in the parking lot, but there are enough kitchen and prison tattoos to stock a poor man's desperate museum. The waitresses, Gina and Desi, look like truck stop homecoming queens from 1970 and 1980. Lucky for them, old men never forget the homecoming queens of their dreams. An hour-long parade of orphaned men stopped in to eat and wonder about home until two old women with leather skin and trailer park style stopped in to leave dollar store lipstick kisses on battered coffee mugs that work harder on Saturday nights than a man in a two-piece suit works in a year.
Man, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here at WZRD Chicago 88.3, Dan Denton, and we look forward to your release of your book that published by Outsider Press, which is called, you say the title of your book again?
The 7 Stages of Middle Class Life in American Fable.
Beautiful. Okay, thanks again, Dan. You take good care, and we'll talk soon.
All right, it was an honor. Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome. Peace.